Hey YouTubers, well I got another video review for you. This one is from TYCORUN. This is their 2000 watt 12 volt power inverter. It is supposed to be pure sine wave. We're going to check all that out here in just a few minutes, so make sure you stay tuned. So when you pull the inverter out of the box, you've got some goodies here. You've got a wireless remote control. You have a grounding wire, Chinese wrench, and then you've got a couple of cables here. I'm not sure how big they are. I'll look at that here in just a second. And then you've got a user manual. And I did write down here on the top, if you go to the TYCORUN website, right now you can buy this inverter for $179. So is it a good deal or is it not a good deal? Well, we're about to find out here shortly. We're going to put this thing through some tests, and we're going to do a load test on it. We're going to check the sine wave. We're going to check the standby watts, and we're going to just test it all out. So before I go ahead and get into testing and all that, I wanted to do some measurements. And so I'm going to be measuring from the very edge of the leg there where it mounts all the way to the edge of the terminal, the little plastic caps that goes over the terminals here. And it comes out to exactly 13 inches. Measuring this way, it is 8 inches, and it measures 3 3/4 inches tall. The inverter weighs 8.5 pounds. So I'm going to run you around the inverter and show you right here on the front. You've got just a little LCD display. But then here on this end, you've got two brushless fans. And then you've got your two terminals. They do have the protective covers over them. I've not had these off, so literally I just pulled this out of the box like 5 minutes ago. And I always like grabbing a hold of them terminals and pulling on them and see if they wiggle. Like I said, I've gotten some of these in the past, and you know, you go to put your cable on there and they're just wiggly. I had one that was just I don't see how they could even say it was a terminal. It was so loose. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But anyways, it looks nice and sturdy. The housing here on the front and the sides and the bottom are all aluminum. But then the little side caps here on the ends, they are steel. I checked them with a magnet just to be sure. And then here on this end, you've got 3 AC receptacles. They are rated at 15 amps each. And then here you've got a Type C port. It's rated at 20 watts. And then you've got 2 USB-A ports. They're just your standard USB. And then you've got your toggle switch. You've got on here at the top. In the middle, it's off. And then on the bottom, you've got remote. And then here on the bottom corner, you've got a little terminal that unscrews, and that's where you take and you plug in the little supplied grounding cable that they provide you. It's got a ring terminal on one end, and then you've got a little alligator clip on the other. You can just stick that ring terminal up underneath that screw there and then ground it to wherever you want. So I got to doing a little digging, and I found here on the cables that these are a 4-gauge. And so I Googled it, and I went to a website, and I seen, I think it was Inverters R Us or whatever, and they said that the 4-gauge was mostly used for some smaller power inverters, but said, the very maximum, that you would run a 4-gauge with is a 1500 watt power inverter. So these wires here are rated for a 1500 watt power inverter, and they are too small, and it's going to be the same thing that we see with most of the Chinese inverters. The cables are too small. They're going to get really hot. These are pretty much worthless to me. Now, since I've been making these reviews and bashing these Chinese companies for putting horrible cables in with all the inverters, I've had a couple of companies reach out to me, and they said, hey, we know what's going on. Basically, we know the cables need to be upgraded. And so TYCORUN was one of the companies. The guy that I've been dealing with, his name is Joseph, and he told me, he says, right now we already have, these made up with the smaller cables, but on the next batch, we promise that we're going to upgrade the cables. So, if you get this inverter, let's say you order it, you might get one with some upgraded cables, and then you might get some with these. So I'm not sure when the new batch is going to be available or any of that, but that's what I was told in an email. I like that. I like companies that want to, you know, upgrade and make things better and make them just where it's safe to use. So hopefully making some of these videos that these inverter companies will see, you know, hey, we've been, you know, putting too small of cables, and they'll all upgrade them. You know, you might get one with small cables, you might get one with large cables, but for the testing today, we're gonna just throw away these. We've got these here, and these are from New Concepts. These are just some cables that I have made up using the New Concepts Colossus Flex 1/aught cable. Bought the cable lugs on Amazon. These are the Cell Term brand ones, and this setup just seems to work really well. So I'm going to use these, and these are going to be very, very sufficient for this power inverter. These here have 5,145 strands of oxygen-free copper. So if you're looking to make an inverter, you know, run cooler, make sure you oversize your wires. So, you know, it's got less resistance, and use good wires. Don't use anything but oxygen-free copper. So one thing I wanted to mention, whenever you get this inverter here, is the terminals, the bolts here, it is an M6 size. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Most of your batteries come with M8 terminals, so this is an M8. Where this one here is an M6, it's a little bit smaller. So just wanted to make mention of it. So whenever I go ahead and put my cable on here, you are going to notice it is going to be a little bit loose, but you know, I'll make sure that it gets a nice contact, and you know, tighten it down really good. I mean, this is just for testing purposes. Now, one thing that they did get right was they used a lock washer, a flat washer, and the nuts. So most of them cheap out and don't give you one or the other. This one actually comes with everything that you need. So you'll put the flat washer on first, then the lock washer, and then the nut, and get it all tightened down. All right, so providing power for the inverter today is this XZNY 200 amp hour plus battery. And before I make my last connection here, so I'm gonna take these 30 ohm ceramic resistors. And you know, if you're interested in these, you can pick them up in the description down below. I've got a link for them. They're like $10 for 5 of them. You can get them on Amazon. But I just take and touch it to the end of the copper lug there, and then use it to touch the battery terminal, and that way you don't get any sparks and all that. You don't risk damaging the capacitors inside the inverter there. And so when you finally do make that connection, there's no spark, as you've seen there. And then, you know, you just go ahead and put the bolt in and tighten it up, and you should be ready to roll. So I went ahead and got everything hooked up, and I just wanted to show you when I turn it on. You can see it makes a little bit of a beeping noise, and then there is a display here on the very front. You can see right here it says 13.7 volts direct current. So that is your battery voltage. And then it reads 119 volts AC. So that is your output. And then it has like a little battery indicator here, a place for watts, like your output wattage. And then right up top it says 60 hertz. And so before I get into any of the further testing, I want to see if the remote control works. And I went ahead and put a little battery in this. This one here is just, it takes like a 23A battery. It's pretty much just like a little bitty short AAA battery. They're $3 or $4 at Walmart. You know, I gotta say, a lot of companies use these same remotes. Some of them use some cheaper ones, but these are the better quality ones. I have found that these work very well in my testing. So anyways, we're gonna put it down there, switch it to remote, and then it's turned off right here. Then I'm gonna hit the on button, and you can see it worked. It turned it on, give it a nice little beat, and turned it on right away. I'm gonna turn it off. Seems to work, and we're gonna go test it in another room and see if it has good range. Like I said, you know, I've tested remotes like this before and was able to go clear across the other end of the house. And this is not a small house by no stretch, but it was able to pick up all the way through the walls and everything. I mean, literally, I wish some of my other remotes and stuff worked this good. All right, so I suckered my girlfriend into walking across the other end of the house and testing the remote, and I actually sat in here and watched her turn it on and off from the other end of the house. So this thing really does work good, and you know, it did not disappoint again. So very impressed with the remote. All right guys, so I've got the clamp meter hooked up here, And this thing only uses like 10 watts, 10, 11 watts of power. It's right now, according to the clamp meter, it says 0.90 amps. And if you put it into the little table here, that calculates it out, and that comes out to about 10.8 watts of power. So that's not too bad. It did go down a little bit at times. So I seen it use about 10.3 watts all the way up to around 10.8 watts. So that's pretty low. And then I'm gonna go ahead and plug the watt meter in here, and we're gonna see what it says. Just got a little jumper here connected to an outlet box where I can plug my oscilloscope into the side, probe it, and then got a plug here to the other side. And right here it says 119.6 volts. And up here on the display, it says 119. And it's 60 hertz, and it's 60 hertz over here. I'm gonna go ahead and test it with the oscilloscope and see if it's pure sine wave. And let's see here. Yep, looks nice and clean. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and plug in this heater, and we're gonna put it on high, and you're gonna watch this watt meter jump up. You can see right there it says 1.9 watts right now, probably to power that LED, who knows. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it on high. There's 200, 300, 400, 700. The fan kicked on, and actually the fans are pretty quiet. I mean, they're not annoyingly loud or anything. But you can see right there, 1550, 1672, 1681. So 1681 watts was the highest that I've seen it surged up to. But we're gonna watch it stabilize out. And you can see right there, we're about 1470 and going down. So we'll give it a minute. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and plug in this little hair dryer. And no ball jokes. I've already heard all of them. We're going to go ahead and plug it in. This is a 1,000 watt one. We're going to just keep it on, you know, just the fan. And it doesn't use but maybe 140, 50, 60 watts. Somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly. And then we're gonna run it up, maybe put it on low if it can handle it. So we'll see here in a minute. We're gonna go ahead and get started with it. My girlfriend's gonna go ahead and get her calculator out. She's filming for me. She does the filming in all my videos and runs the calculator for me so I can keep up with all the wattage to try to get up to the rated wattage. Now on this inverter here, it's 2,000 watts. Continuous, but it says that it has a peak power of 5,000 watts. That's pretty high. You know, most of them usually say a 2,000 watt and then it doubles to like a 4,000, but this one says 5,000 peak watts or peak power. So, all right. So it says right here on the display it's using 1,444 watts. Now on the display on the inverter it says it's using 1,430 watts. So it's pretty close. I mean, now it jumped down to 1420. So it was at 1430. So it's right now it's at 1420, and this one's only budged 1 watt. It was at 1444. Now it's at 1442. So yeah, I don't know how much I trust some of the displays. But anyways, we're gonna go with what the watt meter says, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn this one on. So like I said, it's just going to be on the fan. It's not going to be producing heat. So 1439. Let's just say 1440 plus 171. That comes out to 1,611 watts. So obviously that's less than the 2,000. So we're going to go ahead and pick this baby up on low heat. So watch the watt meter jump up. 372, 483, it jumped up to 483, and that other one's at 1440. So that is 1923 watts. So that's pretty close. So we're going to run this thing. Now on the display on the inverter, it says 1900 watts. So again, we're going to plug in a box fan, and we're going to run it on high. It usually uses around 75 watts of power. So we're going to test it. I'm just going to set this on the floor because you already see it's how much watts it's using. In fact, I'm going to unplug it, and we're going to use a splitter so we can watch the power from the box fan and the hair dryer at the same time. That way we'll just we'll know for sure. And my girlfriend's going to pass this to me. She tries her best not to be on camera. I guess she acts like she's going to melt. Make sure it's on high. Is it on high? Alright, we're going to plug it in. So, 556 watts. And you can hear, I know it's kind of loud in here, guys, but I've got a hair dryer in the floor, a box fan right there on speed 3, and we've got a heater right there on high. So right now it's saying 1427 and 554. And that comes out to a grand total of 1981 watts. That's pretty good. Well, let's see what we can find to plug in it and see if we can find something that jack it up a little higher. Let's get some all four of those DC lights. We're going to let this thing run. We're going to get some DC lights. We'll come back to you. We're not going to turn it off. In fact, she's got them. Got two of them right here. Go ahead and get these babies plugged up. And I know that's 10 more watts. So that's 15 watts. I'm not sure where that other one is. So guys, you get to see it live here. We're scrambling around. We've never done this test before to save our life. And I know you see this mess out here, and it is a mess. And so, you know, hey, please hit the like button, guys. I mean, you see the trouble that we go through to put these videos together for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and take a USB-C cable. We're going to plug it in the USB-C port right there. And we are going to plug it into her phone. And right there you can see that it's charging. So right there, that's over 2,000 watts, guys, with AC power and using AC power and the DC lights and the DC phone charger and all that. So you see it's still running. So she's going to be adding up the watts. We'll just call this one 18 watts on the phone charger, and we'll call it 20 watts on the bulbs, and then whatever these are. We're going to go ahead and add it up that way. I know I said that that puts us at 207 watts. I mean 2007 watts. So, yeah, that puts us over the 2,000 mark. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the thermal camera and check these cables. These cables are not hot at all. I mean, literally, I can touch them. They're not hot. I mean, that's the good thing about, you know, I always recommend you guys buying these new concept cables. And it's just not high You know, you can buy other brands. This is just what I use, and this is what I recommend, just simply because I've had good luck with them. And so I'm going to use the thermal camera. And let's see. You got to remove the cap first. That always helps. It's got a protective cap here on the front of it. My girlfriend's laughing at me now. But it says right here, 114 degrees, and that's right at the terminal. So about middle ways of the wire, it shows that it's 101 degrees. Alright guys, so I went ahead and turned the inverter off because it's so loud in here you couldn't even hear yourself think. And you'll notice right here that there's still power coming from the USB and the USB-C, and that's because even with the inverter turned off, it's still allowing power through the inverter. And that I like that feature, because that way if you want to have some bulbs, you know, lighting up a campsite or something like that, or you know, in an emergency, you want to hang these up and inside your house to give you some light, you don't have to have the inverter turned on and using power just to run these bulbs. And then, you know, if you want to charge your cell phone, you don't have to have the inverter running in order to charge your cell phone. So I do like that feature. Now I just turned it off, and you know, I just wanted to check it right here at the back of the inverter, right there at the terminals. It's like 108 degrees, and then down from it, like an inch away, it says 87 degrees. And then about 3 inches away is showing about 84.7 degrees. So man, these New Concepts wires, man, they really do cut the temperatures way down. And that's why I always recommend them, just simply because, you know, when you oversize that wire and you use good quality wire, you know, that it's oxygen free copper, you know, that resistance is way less, and you don't get a lot of heat build up in the wires. And in return, it makes your inverter run cooler, because it's not having to get so hot right there at those terminals like it does with smaller wires. So anyways, so far I gotta say the inverter went above the 2,000 watt mark. Now I didn't try to go way past it or anything. I just wanted to see if it could handle what it claimed, and it did. And I gotta say the inverter, you know, didn't overheat or none of that. It didn't really get that hot. You can see right now here at the very top, it's showing about 99.1 degrees. And, you know, I literally just turned this thing off, and it sat here and ran for a good 5-10 minutes, something like that. Very impressed with it. So, anyways, appreciate you guys watching, and I hope this video was helpful to you. Like I said, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new here, because, you know, that's how I get a little bit of money from doing all this work and, you know, pulling all this crap out. Now I've got to put it all up, and, you know, I've got to edit the video because I'm not a very good speaker, and so I do a lot of oohs and ahs and say stupid stuff from time to time that I didn't mean to, and have Joe Biden moments and all that. So I have to do some editing and all that. So I appreciate it if you guys would go through and hit that subscribe and like button. That really helped me and get that video out to more people. I think right now I've made about 40-50 videos, and I'm only at about 750-60 subscribers. So, you know, I don't start making any money till I get to about 1,000 subscribers, and then YouTube will pay me a little bit of money. You know, I might make $100-200 a month or something, but by the time, you know, they take taxes out of that, you don't see hardly anything. So it really just pays for just a little bit. But I appreciate if you guys like and subscribe. Until next time, guys, see ya.